Hello. Welcome back to another video. Today I am here to talk about the books that I read in the month of November. So I set myself a challenge for the first time to read a number of books for the month, and I'd never done that before. I just kind of read as I go. I thought that setting the number 4 would be a bit of a stretch, a bit of a challenge, but I actually ended up exceeding that, and I read 6 books for the month and actually started a 7th, but I didn't finish it in time. It's unheard of for me. I'm really in my reading era. It is my self-care and I just love it. I love all things books. Thought I would do a review of my books that I read in October, give you a rating for each as well. So I'm going to do these in the order that I read them as well. So book number 1 that I read for the month was Heartless by Elsie Silver. So this is actually book number 2 in the Chestnut Spring series, and in this book we follow the story of Cade and Willa. If you've read book number 1, Willa is Summer's best friend and Cade is the grumpy older brother of Red. Cade has a son called Luke and is looking for a nanny, and it just so happens that Willa's in the right place at the right time and she ends up becoming the nanny, and the story unfolds from there. And let me just tell you, it is all things nice, all things spice. So much goodness in this book, so you best believe I rated this book 5 stars. I'm just so invested in this world. Like, I love the Chestnut Spring series and I'm really in my cowboy romance era. Obsessed. The next book that I read after that one was Daydream by Hannah Grace. This is the newest release and the 3rd book in the Maple Hill series. This book follows the story of Hallie and Henry. We do see Henry in both previous books, but he's just kind of like a side character, whereas in this book he is the main male character. Becomes captain of the hockey team in this book and just deals with a lot of things internally, and he becomes friends with Hallie. She was in a bit of a toxic relationship and got out of that. She's a tutor, she runs book club, and she lives in her grandmother's old house, and she just has a knack for baking the special recipe chocolate chip cookies. I feel like if you're a reader, she's just like your type of girl and someone that you want to be friends with. I really like this book because I just feel, although it's in the same world, like it's in the Maple Hills universe, I just feel like this book in itself was so different to the other 2, because I feel like this one was just so much more relatable. These 2 are learning how to be in a relationship, you know, and the communication and how they can kind of work on themselves separately so that they can be better together. You know, they give each other the time and the space that they need, and they help each other through so many different things. There's actually a note in the front of the book, an explanation to some things about why the characters are acting the way they are, and I feel like that reading that note from Hannah just also kind of shapes the book, so I'm very glad that that was actually in there. But yeah, this was just clearly my favorite one of the series so far. It just felt like it was so much more relatable and like real life. I don't know if that makes any sense. It was just so nice to see their dynamic of their relationship and how that they build that up together. Such a cute little book, and I rated this book 4 stars. The next book I read was the novella to the, I don't actually know what the series is called. Is it just the Powerless series? So Powerless is the first book, and then you have this little novella here which is called Powerful by Lauren Robert, and this is just such a nice little short read. I think it was only like 240 something pages. This follows the story of Adina, who was in the first book as Payton's best friend. We all know how the first book ends if you've read it, so it was almost like anticlimactic but also really sad coming towards the end of this. Like, I just felt like I couldn't connect with the male character in this book, but also the last like 50 pages I was hooked, because like I know how the book's gonna end, but it's just nice seeing it from a different point of view. But yeah, I don't know, not good, not bad. I rated this one a 3 out of 5 stars. The next book, my 4th book for the month, was Funny Story by Emily Henry. Now, I have read a bunch of Emily Henry books in the past: Book Lovers, Beach Read, People We Meet on Vacation. I didn't really love them 3, and then Happy Place come out and I decided to give that one a go, and I actually enjoyed that one a lot more than those other 3 books. So I read Happy Place and I was like, oh yeah, okay, like I'm starting to get a little bit of the Emily Henry high. But then I read this one and I was like, okay, I really get the Emily Henry Hype. This was my favorite book of hers by far. I absolutely loved this. What has happened is Daphne and Mars, both in their own relationship, their partners end up hooking up and getting together, and then Daphne and Miles are left. Daphne had nowhere to go, so she calls Miles and she's living in Miles' house. So I think you can put two and two together of what actually happens along the way, but they're kind of there as each other's, you know, emotional support buddy. They pretend to be in a relationship, but they do the whole fake dating trope, and then they obviously, yeah, I think you can guess what happens from there. The only reason I didn't give this book a 5-star was because it was all from Daphne's point of view. I would have loved a dual POV in this book to see everything that was kind of going on in Miles's head and his side of everything a little bit more. So that's the only reason I didn't give this 5 stars, but I did give it a 4 stars for funny stories. So I finished my TBR for October and I was like, you know what, this is awesome. I still have so much of the month to go, so I can just choosing books that I wanted to read. I didn't do any prompts or anything for them. I just did free choice just to finish off the month. So the 5th book that I read and free choice for the month was Powerless by Elsie Silver. Like I said, I am obsessed with the Chestnut Springs series and I just wanted to keep reading. So this is book number 3 out of 5 in the series, and in this book we follow Jasper and Sloane. These two are like childhood best friends and they've always had a crush on each other, but I mean, Sloane has let it known to Jasper, and then he just kind of thinks, oh, she's got over her childhood crush, but he starts to develop feelings for her. She's pushed her feelings to the side, she's engaged, and well, you'll see when you read the book. If you haven't already, you'll see how that all pans out. Jasper is a professional hockey player. Sloane is a professional dancer, ballet dancer, and somehow they make their way back to Wishing Well Ranch together with everything that happens in the book, and yeah, it just goes from there. This book's got a little bit of spice in it too, which is nice. This was definitely my least favourite so far of the series, and I did rate this one a 3.5. My final completed book for the month, like I said, I did get onto a 7th book, but I didn't finish it in time. Again, this was another free pick, and this one, I have been dying to read this author. I have had 3 of her books on my TBR shelf for a long time, and she's just so hot. I have just been so scared to jump on the bandwagon, pick up one of the books, because I was just like so nervous that I wasn't going to be, there was all this hype and I was going to be like, oh right, why was she hype? But can confirm, Abby Jimenez, you are now one of my newest favorite authors, and I've only read one of your books. That's exactly what happened with Elsie Silver. Elsie Silver is my favorite author. This book is about Alexis and Daniel. Alexis, she works in the ER. She's from a family of medical brilliances. Daniel, he runs his family bed and breakfast, also is a carpenter in this very, very small town. This one has actually, it's got a bit of an age gap romance happening in here. I think there's like 10 years between Alexis and Daniel. She's just come out of an abusive relationship and he cheated on her. She was on her way back from a funeral. She swerved off a road because a raccoon jumped out in front of her, and Daniel gives her a tow to get back on the road safely. She ends up staying the night as a night with Daniel, if you can put 2 and 2 together, and then she just keeps coming back and forth every weekend. I was rooting for Daniel this whole time. Daniel is such a sweetheart. Yeah, this book I absolutely loved, and I gave it a 5 stars. Here is all the books that I read in the month of October, and I did have a bit of a variety in here. I am so stoked. Out of these 6 books that I read for the month of October, I had 2 5-star reads. Pretty good reading months. Already November at the moment, so I have already ticked 1 book off my TBR so far, and it's what, I think it's the 2nd or the 3rd today. We'll see how I go with my November reads. I have 7 books picked out, so we'll see if we get to them, and there is such a massive variety this month. I actually also today have been sent my first ever art from an author to read and review before it's released to the public and published in book form, so that is so cool. I cannot wait. I saw the email and I was like, what's picking me to come and review their book before it's released? Like, how? What? Love reading, and I just post all this stuff because I just love reading, so that was just so exciting. But anyway, I'm going to end this video here, and I will see you in my next one very soon. Bye.